So I'm going to be talking about 3 takeaways from the lecture and 2 takeaways from the presentation from this week. So I kind of want to start with the presentation from this week because I think they did such a great job implementing everything that was taught from the lecture, or along the lines of what we really needed to touch base on, especially getting into ABC data. The presentation showed how they got into ABC data in a very only in a school setting way, but also in a very, excuse me, in an old school setting way, which is by paper, because in a lot of cases everything is basically now all digital. There's not much paper data, but that really showed like the insights of how an descendant starts and how behavior occurs and what to do exactly after that, like that certain consequence and what kind of happened through all that. So it was really cool how that their whole lecture really went into depth with that and how it can be targeted overall, and it was just explained very well, and I loved that a lot. And on top of that, not just like how the ABC data was recorded, but also managing the different antecedents. That was really awesome, like the way that they also implemented that in there, and just to how all that targeted as well into the ABC data. But the managing antecedents was really nice to see, because that kind of ties into the lecture, because one of the things on the lecture for this week was talking about managing antecedent. I mean, oh my gosh, I said the same thing about how to kind of target the different antecedents, because you can modify different SDs, or find like a new type of SD to kind of help with any behavior problems that occur, especially once you know like the consequence. It's very easy. You can kind of navigate through different things and kind of figure things out from there. So I think that was a really cool part that just ties in really good with the lecture and the presentation. But not only that, if we go into motivational operations is also very important, and this kind of all of this ties together all the time, but I think this specifically ties in very well, because for different behaviors to occur, there has to be different quote-unquote triggers, quote-unquote things that kind of alternate that. So being able to find like different motivational causes for that is really cool. And I like how he went into depth with different motivational operations, and how that navigates with behavior, and how you can better just, how do I explain, how you can better adjust through that certain behavior because of it. And that ties again with the different antecedents and how that starts. But on top of those 2 things, another thing is one that was said from the lecture is in like the lecture and the presentation, it was escaping as a reinforcer. I don't know, this is like really interesting to me, because a lot of kids, those are a lot of their what's it called, behaviors, is wanting to escape whenever, not kids but just clients in general, wanting to escape because they already know that something's going on. So they're like, I don't want to do that, let me just find any possible way to escape from this behavior so I don't have to do anything. So I think also focusing on that really ties in, like I said, with everything from the ABC data, how that goes to how antecedents are necessarily managed in the different SDs that you can navigate. Use different SDs to see if you can get a different outcome from behaviors, or just modify their SDs, and just see how the consequences end with both of those. So that was really cool. And then on top of that, how escaping as a reinforcer for a lot of people, which it is, because they're like, I can leave so I can do whatever I want. That, and then motivational operations, being able to also tie motivation to how ABC data is taken, but just in general, how much that is implemented into these cases, these clientele, everything. So yeah, those are my 5 takeaways from everything. 3 from the 3 from the lecture and 2 from the presentation. Overall, the presentation was so cool this this past week. It really did, like I said, a good thing to tie everything together. Just being able to understand ABC data even more clearly, especially with that video and how the clientele reacted, but how the teacher in the situation was able to navigate through that. So it was really cool. It explained it really well. And yeah, so I'm excited to hear everybody else's responses.